relationally. This is the Inspired Family Leader Program with Samuel A. Bakutana, your host, a certified executive coach, an award-winning leadership consultant, a global speaker and author, the Provincial Fathers Union President, and the CEO of Inspired Leaders International. Question. Yes or no? Should men cry?
Yes.
No explanation. Yes or no? Should men cry?
Yes.
Okay. Are you saying that because you are a woman? Yes or no?
No.
Are men also abused? Yes or no?
Yes, they are abused.
Does that hurt them too? Yes or no?
Absolutely it does.
Does it affect how they lead their families? Yes or no?
Big time, it does.
Can they be helped? Yes or no?
Yes, they can.
You are very welcome to this program today when we are talking about an emotionally abused man. An emotionally abused man. Many times we talk about abuse, talk about domestic violence. We talk about all these kinds of challenges that many people meet in families. Today we are focusing on abuse, especially on the aspect of the emotional abuse, and particularly talking about the men being abused. And to talk about this, in the studio is none other than somebody who was here a few weeks ago, Mrs. Evas Kansiime Atwiine, the Executive Director of the International Center for Mental Health and Family Care, ICFC. Madam Evas, you're very welcome.
Thank you so much, Sam.
So how are you doing?
I'm good.
What does that exactly mean that you are good?
I am good. I'm not sick. Physically, no. Am I sick emotionally?
Yes.
So I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm good.
And how is family?
Family is good. Thank you. Thank you.
Maybe for those who did not watch us the other time when I hosted you, you may want to introduce yourself a little bit more and also about your family.
Okay. Thank you, Sam. Viewers, I introduced myself last time. Let me introduce myself again. Evas Kansiime Atwiine. He already told you I'm the CEO for International Center for Mental Health and Family Care, an organization focused on strengthening people's mental health, but also ensuring that families are strengthened. I'm married with 5 children, biological, 1 adopted, and I'm a grandma to 4 other children.
Congratulations for being both a mother and a grandmother.
Thank you.
You don't look like a grandmother.
I am. I am, Sam.
You should thank God.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
I do.
Now, you remember the last time when you were on this program, we were talking about the power of a dad's presence.
Right.
And it was an awesome moment. You shared a lot of nuggets of wisdom, a lot of insights, a lot of things that would guide somebody as far as the power of the presence of a dad and how a dad can actually do that and be present in the life of their children, even when we are in a very busy world.
Right.
That's the reason why you are back, because you did so well that really we needed to learn even much more from you on this program today. Now, after that very program, I sent a link to the recording to a number of people, a number of friends around, and there was this specific lady who picked on one statement from the program and talked about it seriously. And that was when you said that a dad's absence is tragic. And she said that statement was misleading. That how dare we say a dad's presence is tragic? So what would be your quick comment even as we start this program today?
Thank you, Sam. You remind me that we actually ended on that note, and you asked me a question comparing 2 dads.
Yes.
One who was absent but healthy and helpful, but one who was present and
not engaged.
Not really engaged.
Toxic.
Toxic.
A bad example.
A bad example to the children. Now, I already mentioned during that conversation that children learn 80% modeled behavior.
Yes.
Behavior modeled by parents. So if a dad's presence is negative, it's dangerous. So what we were discussing was the fact that a dad has unique contributions.
Yes.
And I made it very clear. Because then we hear conversations and people get confused. They say, but what do you mean? I can also be this, I cannot. No. So that's why we focused on a dad's unique contribution into the lives of children. Now, we won't go back to that.
Yeah.
But let me clarify that a dad who is helpful in the lives of a child and who we say should be present and involved, you remember?
Yes, of course.
Should be a healthy dad. If it's a dad who is toxic, who is violent, who brings negative energy, scares children, does all that, then that's not the dad we are talking about.
Okay, we are talking about a healthy dad who is available, present involved and engaged into the lives of the children.
Absolutely.
So the absence of that one is tragic.
It's very tragic.
Okay.
It's absolutely tragic.
All right.
Yes.
So today the topic is an emotionally abused man. Do most people really understand emotional abuse in your view?
So people don't understand it, and it actually reflects even in the statistics we have in the country. If you opened any document on abuse and domestic violence and all that, we see a lot of physical abuse.
Exactly, yes.
So we see a lot of this beaten, this insulted. No. So we talk about physical. We understand physical abuse.
The slap, the push.
Exactly, the push, the beating, the fighting, and the killing.
Yes.
But we don't talk about emotional abuse, and it's very ununderstood. It's one of those concepts that people don't understand.
Yes.
So if
do they not understand it because they don't face it, maybe, or because when they cause it, they are not aware, or what causes that?
Generally, there is a lot of ignorance in this area.
Maybe especially in the area of emotions, generally.
Absolutely.
Even before we talk of the abuse.
Because you see, I've told you, so this is when I share, and probably I could use this opportunity to share with viewers, that emotional health generally is misunderstood. Emotional health is the same as mental health.
Okay.
And so when we talk about mental health and emotional health, we're talking about the invisible person, the inner human being that we don't see. Now, I'll again use this opportunity to help viewers understand that every person is a three-part whole. We have the physical.
The physical.
So we have the physical, which is only 10% of a human being. And when we say, yes, it is. So all your body parts combined, both seen and unseen, they only make up 10% of you. Right? 90% is invisible. Is your thought processes, is your emotions, energy in motion, emotions. Emotions are in two parts. They are the positive emotions, the happiness, the joy, and what.
Yes.
But then we have the negative ones, the hate, the anger, all those, the depression, the bitterness, the jealousy, all those. So we have that. Now that part is not understood. Right? But that's a big part of you. Yeah. So if I ask you...
Sounds like the iceberg.
It is. And then we also have the mind. Yes. We have the mind, the thought processes, the mental outlook to life, how you view life. That determines how the body feels. Right? Okay? Then
how you think determines how you feel.
How determines how you feel.
And therefore, if how you think determines how you feel, how you feel determines how you act.
Exactly.
And therefore, by consequence, your thoughts will determine your actions.
Exactly.
Because in between there is how you feel.
Exactly. So those three parts, the emotions, the mind, the emotions, your thought processes. So those are what we call the soul. Now the soul is not a religious statement.
Yeah, that's where the challenge is. When we hear soul, many times we now think of a reverend, a pastor, a pope.
Exactly. So let me make it clear. Your emotions or feelings, your mind, your thought processes,
and your will.
I was coming to the will. Those three parts, your will is where choices are made.
Exactly.
That is very important. That's where decisions are made.
Yes.
And all these are connected. How you view the world is determines how you make your decisions.
Of course.
So how you approach. So these three parts make what we call the soul.
The soul. So the emotions, how we feel, the mind, and then the will, the one with which we make decisions. All these are invisible, and that's the soul.
That's the soul.
And so is that where the emotional health is seated?
It is seated there.
Okay.
But let me also add the spirit. Now the spirit, you've had a statement that we are spirit beings, we have a soul, and we live in the body.
Oh, wait. You've just made a powerful statement.
Sure.
We are one.
Yes.
We have
one.
Okay. We live in three.
In three.
So, so a person is one, what you are.
Yes. The spirit.
What you have.
Yeah.
And where you live.
And where you live.
So we are a spirit having a soul, living in a body.
Now, the spirit is the core of a person. At spirit level, that's where a person has a sense of self-worth.
Identity. Personal significance. Meaning.
That's where it is at spirit level.
Yes.
Number two, that's where relationships are. That's where when you check, whenever people are communicating about love, they just post, it's in a form of a heart.
It's like,
so it's in the heart. So that's where that's the core of a person.
Yes.
Now when that core is shaken, when someone loses self-worth, and I'm really glad we're talking about this as we discuss emotional abuse.
Yes.
When a person's sense of worth is deflated, then they are as good as dead. You don't
deflated,
have to
you mean like when you get a balloon with air and you pierce it?
Yeah, so they no longer feel, like they are useful, they feel empty, they feel unloved, they feel rejected.
Yes.
That is big time, because then a person has died already.
And I think that even can take more time to deal with than if you gave somebody a slap.
Yeah.
After a minute or two, he's back to normal.
Absolutely.
But this that affects one's self-worth, one's sense of meaning and usefulness.
Sure.
Yeah, it takes a long time.
Exactly. Now, the soul and the spirit, those aspects we've talked about, combined, then make the inner person. And this inner person lives in a shell called the body. So,
which we now see. What you called the 10%.
Exactly. So everything we do is a reflection on how we feel on the inside. And so the soul and the spirit combined, that's where emotional health lies.
Wow.
Yeah.
No wonder we don't understand it.
Yeah.
It sounds complicated.
Yes.
but you have explained it in a way that one can understand.
Exactly.
And to show that really I've now understood it, let me summarize it in my way of understanding.
Please go
that
ahead.
We are made up of three things, three components.
Yes.
We are made of both the visible and the invisible. The visible is only one out of those three, which is the body that contributes 10% of who a person is.
Exactly.
And then the invisibles are the remaining two.
Yes.
One, the spirit, where we have the relationships and so on and so forth, and self-worth and meaning and significance, and then the soul, which is also made up of three branches: the emotions, the will, and what was the third?
And the mind.
And the mind. Yeah. All right. So when we talk of emotional abuse, or if we talk of emotional health, we are not referring to the 10%, the body.
No.
We are referring to where the emotions sit, the spirit and the soul, the invisible.
Yeah. Got it.
Now we are saying an emotionally abused man.
Yeah.
Who abuses the man?
Okay, so before we do that, when we say someone is abused emotionally, It means that there is a consistent pattern of abusive words, like what we call disparaging remarks,
demeaning and belittling comments,
bullying, embarrassing,
what kind of a man are you? We are just seeing trousers.
Exactly.
Those kinds of comments.
So every time there is a consistent pattern, and please mark consistent, because I can be angry and say something to you just once in a while.
Yes.
But then there is a pattern where someone controls you and criticizes you consistently, embarrasses you, belittles you, undermines your self-confidence, undermines your competence, and you get into self-doubt. So you start asking, am I useful? Do you see how the area conversation is important?
Yes.
So then it goes deep, and so you start doubting yourself. Am I really worth?
Could it be that this woman was right to say I'm not a man?
I'm not a man enough. And this, of course, this happens for women as well.
Yeah,
but today we are talking about men.
On the man.
Yeah, so when someone belittles you, criticizes you, and undermines your self-confidence, undermines your respect, so then they've killed you. So that's when we say you are abused emotionally if you live in a situation where you're constantly belittled, bullied, controlled, demeaned,
undermined.
You can't make a decision, you doubt yourself, and so that is emotional abuse.
Oh yes.
Okay?
Oh, yes.
Consistent pattern. Now, what did you ask?
In other words, when it becomes a habit.
A habit.
It's a habitual, it's a habitual environment.
Right.
It's a habitual occurrence,
right.
habitual event, whereby every now and again you receive these comments that belittle you. You receive these remarks that demean you, that push you down. Even if somebody doesn't hold you physically and pushes you down, you feel pushed down. You feel your sense of worth is... You start to doubt whether you are man enough.
Do you see how it goes to your spirit?
It does.
So then...
Do you think a man like that can lead prayer in that family?
No, he can't.
And then after that you say that he has failed to be the priest of your home.
Exactly, that's the thing. So this is what happens to men. Did you ask me?
Yes, I did. I said, who abuses this man? Because we are saying an emotionally abused man. Who abuses him?
Yeah, so who abuses him? So who abuses him is because you know that we live in relationships.
Yes, we do.
and so it depends on which man we are talking about. So if we are talking about a man in a family, is that the person you're talking about?
Go right ahead.
Yes. So if you're talking about a man in a family, definitely it is their partner in a relationship that that abuses them. Very interesting. I was looking at statistics from a recent study on divorce in Uganda, divorce and separation in Uganda, and it's called a deep dive into divorce and separation in Uganda. I wasn't aware that we had such a study here, but it was done, and it's very interesting that 36% of the men that were interviewed said they were emotionally abused by their intimate partners.
So every time you meet 10 men, 4 of them are abused emotionally.
Absolutely. So, and very interesting that when you look at other big studies that have been done on health and others, they are silent on men and emotional abuse.
You
even
don't get the statistics.
Actually, 20% reported physical abuse. Then others reported sexual abuse. But I was intrigued by the
fact
that
they say a man can't be sexually abused.
Well, I'm not going to talk about that, so
maybe we should come back and talk about that.
Talk about that. It's big time.
Yes.
So when you ask that who abuses, so we have what we call intimate partner violence. Intimate partner violence. And so 36%. That's big time.
It is.
It's just less by half of them, just by 14%. So it's a big number. Men are abused, and they are just silent survivors.
Yeah.
But it's really, really big time, and they are abused by people in their relationships, and to be specific, their intimate partners.
Their wives.
Their wives.
So that's the man in a family, abused by the partner.
Yeah.
How about the man not married? Can he also be emotionally abused?
Absolutely.
So by who, since he has no partner?
Well, there are so many people that abuse. We are abused in every place we go to. It could be in the workplace. Yeah. Because even in the workplace, when someone shames you, they disrespect you, they embarrass you instead of encouraging you. I always say, we are serviced from within. What we call psychic energy. Yes. So when someone depletes your psychic energy and tells you you're not good enough, what kind of person are you? I thought a man knew this. And we have to be specific that it is, can I call it gender-based? Because we always experience that. But even in the workplace, someone can say, what kind of man are you? I thought you were,
I had one shouting in the corridor of some organization, no, for you are a small boy. Yes. And probably she thought that was a simple comment. But to a man in public, that's something.
Yes.
That's something. No, for you are just a small boy. Yes. And she may feel that, no, we are joking. It's a good workplace humor. But many men may not find really it funny.
Yes. So we, both men and women are even abused in the world. But sometimes it's really directed at them. In the workplace, any other places they go to, in church.
Yeah.
In church, men are abused. In the pulpit.
Yes, I know a pastor who was good at that.
Yes.
He was good at that. Every time he would stand up, he would be praising women. Women, you were the first to go to the grave of Jesus. Yeah. Women, you took the message. Yeah. Women. So the men would be like this saying, so are we the ones who...
Exactly.
Yeah,
so sometimes church, and I will say this here, church, they may be well-intentioned, but sometimes they really, really belittle men in a very subtle way or even aggressive way, and tell them how they are not good enough, how we celebrate women because men have become used. I'm actually, I'm in this place where I'm saying leave men alone, because every time it feels like a battle of genders. Like you have to talk about this one in comparison to the other. Competition.
You even find they have competitions of giving. That men you will put in this basket, women put here. Let's see who wins.
Yes.
And in my heart, I'm having a terrible comment about that.
Exactly. So I've heard, for instance, in church where people say, "Men, where are you? What's wrong with men?" Well, now you're trying to motivate men to be better, but that's not the right way to motivate.
Actually, you're pushing them away.
You're pushing it, belittles them. It undermines. Yes.
They now go to this other club. They go to this organization. They go to this drinking joint, and they are being psyched up. They are being told how great they are. They are being told how wonderful they are. No wonder they have to keep going back, and they don't come back to your place anymore.
So every time we belittle someone, they get deflated.
Yes.
Whether it's a child or a woman or a man. So we have to know that whatever place it is, please be sure that you're emotionally uplifting someone. They feel energized. They feel respected.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I was at some church, and this pastor preached, and then it was a day for men. It was a day for men, celebrating men. It was a Father's Union something. But this preacher was busy now just hitting men. And then he said, when you have your money, when you're going to plan, number 1, put money in the basket of the church. Number 2, give to your wife and your children. And then number 3, your mother in the village. And later I stood up and asked him, openly, I said, you are saying after that, his mother in the village. How about his father in the village also? Why are you leaving out his father in the village? So it seems like a global agenda.
It is. It's bad.
Like a global agenda against the man to abuse him, to demean him,
to manipulate
and exploit him, and the church has swallowed the bait.
They have, and they just feel like, you know, they mean well, and I'm sure they do. But the way
many of them
strategy matters, how there's no one that gets encouraged through discouragement.
What a statement. There is no one who gets encouraged through discouragement. Do you know what discouragement means? You see, in Uganda, where we are right now, there used to be a program of disarmament in the northeastern part of the country. They would say, let's go and disarm. Okay? So to disarm means to remove arms. To disempower means to remove power. To disable means to remove ability.
Exactly.
And so to discourage means to remove all
courage. Yes.
So you can't say you are giving someone courage by removing their courage.
No.
That is a paradox and a contradiction in words.
It's a contradiction because you're eating away somebody's self-worth.
So who abuses this man in his family? The intimate partner. And about 36% of men say they have experienced this from in the context of the intimate partner violence. The men outside the family, it could be in their workplaces, it could even be in the church, and it's time to say, leave the men alone.
Leave them alone. If you want to give them information, give it to them, but make sure that your strategy encourages.
Package it in a way that can be palatable.
Absolutely.
I talked about this morning. You know where we were this morning with some other team of leaders. The Inspired Leaders Forum. Today we had the Got to Meet Leadership Assembly. And we talked about that kind of thing. You know, that we cannot, if you are going to help anybody, you must be able to package what you are going to give to them in a package that is receivable. We also said that the way you package yourself will determine who will quote unquote buy you and at how much they will. Packaging is critical even for the message.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. So when you look at this emotional abuse among men, what are the major causes of this?
So the major causes, so I talked about when someone feels disrespected, no self-worth and all that. Let me begin on a controversial note. That some of it is self-inflicted because of how men behave. So of course your behavior can cause you to lose respect.
Oh yes, of course.
Lose self-worth. So some of the behaviors, and I'm speaking again as a therapist, I didn't mention this, I'm a family therapist or marriage counselor. Some of the things that really men do,
self-inflicted.
They are self-inflicted. So your behavior really leads you to lose respect. And so you've had statements like respect is earned.
Now I've tried,
but to be honest with you, I've also clarified this to say there is natural respect that someone should have, but then much of it is earned. So if you find that a man does things that are not worthy of respect,
that don't show that he
respects himself, so that's number one.
Other people may end up giving him the natural respect of this is a human being, but not the stronger respect of this is an honorable man.
Exactly. So you find that that's number one. But number two, it is partner. So let me talk about partner inflicted kind of disrespect. Part of it, especially the men in the 21st century, is they are suffering, and we talked about this last time. They are suffering the distorted perspectives of feminism and male-female relationships. And this is real because then women are saying, who is a man? You know, that the roles have been, you know, confused because we no longer have the neat compartments where we say a man, this is what they do, and then they earn respect from that.
When they do it.
Provide, protect, and sijui what. Now, now we have confusion, and so women are saying, who is a man? Like, who are they? And so that perspective, feminism and some of these other rights and movements, they've actually affected men big time, and they've caused so much pain.
And a number of them are celebrating that as an achievement.
Yeah, which
because
is very
probably that's why they set out to. That's what they set out
which
to do.
which is very unfortunate.
I'm
because
curious. Why are you calling it distorted? You said distorted perspectives of feminism.
Of male-female relationship.
Why are you calling it distorted?
No, so I'm saying it is distorted perspective of male-female relationships, like feminism.
Okay.
Okay? Because then this is a view that asserts that men are no longer really necessary. They are not. They don't deserve any respect.
Yes.
They you know, some of the things that are happening.
They are a natural accident.
I think
it should have been X chromosome, but unfortunately Y came.
Exactly. So that. And so we have, the other thing is that the changing times, and I always say this, the confusion, people, like where we have dual honor, what we call dual honor couples, where women think that a man doesn't deserve respect because I'm the one earning, I have the money. And so who is he?
Yes.
But then also, the other challenge is where we have this template that hasn't changed of what a man should do and should be, irrespective of the changing times.
Yes.
So I'll give an example. So again, as a therapist, I meet so many women struggling with their money. And so whether they are earning,
with their men.
No, with their money. And so they use money to disrespect men.
Yes.
So they say, who are you? Right? Then you find that then money defines whether someone needs respect or not. And the man could be in a relationship where they are not earning, they don't have a job, probably their business is struggling, there is no provision for that man in this world. And so people think that person doesn't deserve respect. Do you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, so they are using money as a standard of respect.
As a standard of respect. You don't provide for the family. What kind of head are you?
Yes.
So I'm the one doing.
You deserve to be called a man.
Do you deserve to be called a man? That is happening a lot. And that's why I say...
And that is emotional abuse.
That's emotional abuse, because then you're causing pain. You're diminishing this person's belittling them and showing them that as long as they have no money, they're useless.
Could it be the reason why when they finally get the money, they also abuse you?
Well, yes.
They have that anger, and if they don't have Christ in their life, they feel a bad sense of revenge within them. They say, now that I have the money, they can do anything that they want to do.
I'll say some of them, but of course we have another group of men that are struggling with managing success.
Of course, and there are many.
And there are so many.
All right.
But,
so changing times, dual honor couples as a cause of emotional abuse.
Yeah, but also the character. Last time I mentioned that when we are raising children, these are some of the basic things that we need to instill in children, that they need to learn basic respect. So some of the partners, or wives to be specific, they just are brutally disrespectful. Very disrespectful. So they'll just say anything. They do not acknowledge the position of a man in a family, acknowledge his leadership role. And that's why we're having, recently I was talking to a group and they were asking me, Mrs. Atwiine, is submission still relevant in the 21st century? And then of course this submission is so confused, it's distorted. People think that everyone thinks a certain way.
The whole negativity around it actually is a result of misunderstanding
the word.
Yes.
And so some of them are cruel and they are just aggressive and they're saying, I cannot, I'm also. But they don't know that they are submitting to a leadership structure in this family which is headed by
the man.
So when a man is deprived of that leadership respect or respect for his leadership position, that's emotional abuse. That's emotional abuse.
And it's related to what we were talking about the other time concerning leadership. We always say, you need to be a good leader, Madam Evas. Be a good leader. A good leader, you have to follow up your people. You have to respect them, listen to their views, consult them, get to know their needs. Good leader, good leader, good leader. But who is talking about good follower?
Yes.
Good leadership without good followership
right.
is going to be painful to the leader.
So that's why we call some of them leaders of opposition.
Leader of opposition.
Yes.
So you find in a family there is a leader of opposition.
Of opposition. So even this leader cannot pursue an agenda. They've already been told how they are not good enough. They don't feel strong enough. They don't feel motivated. They don't feel like they are trusted by the people they lead. And so they can't make decisions. Their willpower is pulled down, sucked out. And so you find that and so I was talking about character and character of partners who haven't been groomed to respect a leader. And if you recall in our previous conversation, I talked about a dad's position in a family, that one of the unique contributions is to model authority and respect for leadership.
Yes.
And so some of the ladies who haven't had a sense of leadership modeled by their dads, they have a hard time respecting a man in a family. They do.
Wow.
Yeah.
So these are major causes of emotional abuse.
Yes. Can I talk about society?
Please go right ahead.
Society also has had a big impact on men and contributed to their abuse. Part of it are the stereotypes. You know, stereotypes that men are not. You've had a statement that men are not emotional. How sad. Yes. How sad.
Could it be the reason why at the very start of this program, when I said, should men cry, you said yes?
Yes, I said, but you see, the other challenge is that people think the only way to release an emotion is to cry.
Okay.
And so when a man doesn't cry, and they've been told don't cry, they think that's the only way they can release an emotion. That's not true.
Okay.
There's so many other ways, and I'm sure we'll talk about this when we are talking about how men should respond. But men have been taught to suppress emotions, whether it's positive or negative.
So when they are happy, they don't show.
They can't show when they're happy. When they love, they love, they don't show.
When they love, they don't show.
Oh yeah, they won't touch their spouse. They don't want to express love.
When they love, they don't show.
They don't show.
Then how do they love?
Oh, they love silently.
How do you love your wife if you don't show?
So many men can't show. They've been told.
We need a seminar on how to show.
You understand? And so society has been very unfair to men.
Yes.
They've told them to be strong and never to be vulnerable. Never to share with anyone about how they feel.
Not to be genuine and authentic in your emotions.
No, not to be expressive. Not to talk about how they feel.
And guess what? When they are telling you that, they say, don't be a woman.
You see
so
that?
What does that mean?
But the worst case scenario is when they tell you, be a man. Yes. Now that be a man thing is never unpacked, but and men are taking it like, to be a man is you have to be tough, bad, you know,
bad man,
and tough.
Cool in DO.
You see that? But you see, they haven't, and society hasn't nurtured men to be relational.
Yes.
Now, I must make it clear to viewers that relationships contribute 90% to our health.
Yeah, I remember you sharing that.
You see that? Now, when relationships are fractured, there's no expressed love, there is no shared feelings, there is no communication, no one knows what you're going through. What kind of relationship do you think this is? The men are not nurtured to relate.
Yes.
They have some of them have no single skill. So whenever someone belittles them, they can't face them and say, you know what, when you said this, it made me feel like this. They've been told, just swallow that.
To suppress.
Man, suppress.
Sit on a pin, stand on a knife,
you
and
that?
Smile and say all is well.
Smile, all is well. That has contributed so much to men's abuse.
Indeed.
And so men have to be men. You've heard a statement like, men will always be men. Now, that statement, do you remember when I talked about self-inflicted emotional abuse? Men have also been told that they can do every damn thing and they can have respect. You see that?
In Uganda, they say Uganda is a part in central Uganda where they say omusajja asajjalata. And somehow when I came to ask about it, it's had something to do with like a man can go around testing microphone 1 2 1 2, you know, women everywhere. And it's okay culturally, traditionally.
It is okay. Yes. And do you know how much pain, how much emotional pain that causes to a relationship? And this relationship is supposed to feed the health of this man, but he has brought pain because he's exaggerating or whatever, you know. You know, so they believe, oh, just be that, and
that you are being a man by doing the wrong things.
Yes,
they even say man up.
Man up.
So what would that mean? Man up. It means I am manned down. Even when you say be a man, the grammatical implication is now you are not.
Yes, you're not good enough.
Yeah,
you don't measure up.
You are simply not a man.
I know.
Because when they say be a man, they are saying now you are not. Transform yourself into a man. So now you look at all these things, you know, the abuse and how it comes in, that consistent pattern of demeaning remarks and that controls and undermines the man, and all these causes, whether they are self-inflicted or distorted perspectives of feminism, the changing times, the character shortage and the stereotypes of society. Now, this man that has been abused this way, what are some of the things that he is likely to do because he is an emotionally abused man?
Yes, one more thing, family environment. Most men have grown up as a major cause. Okay. Family environment, where men are exposed or boys are exposed to domestic violence, and they've also seen disrespect and emotional abuse, they are likely to be abused, or, you know, later on in life. So family environment is important. Let me talk about how men respond. That's what
are some of the things that an emotionally abused man is likely to do? How do they respond?
One way is because, again, men haven't been taught to engage in relationships and be able to fight emotional abuse. They get withdrawn.
Withdrawal.
Yeah, so they get withdrawn and they go to what we call emotional hideouts. So they go to bars, they go to sports.
They drive big cars.
Yes, but let me just mention this, and I hope people don't say everyone who loves sports is in an emotional hideout. But some of them, they would rather go to things where they feel they have control, because every time you are abused and you're deflated, you're looking for a way to top up your energy and your worth.
There has been an emotional withdrawal on your bank account, so you're looking for a deposit on your bank account.
Yeah, so some of them go to bars and they go to sports, and they become ardent supporters of certain teams because they are running away from, at least there they have control.
They do.
Right?
Also they think.
Yeah, also they think. And so they go to friends. So you find a man who cannot go home, they would rather be with friends that where they hide. By the way, men's relationships are very interesting. So they will not go to a man and say, by the way, I'm going through this. They'll go to where they're saying, oh, I'm good. So someone, when they have no place to go to at home, they're worried their spouses are going to get their eyes out. They would rather go and be with you, and then you ask, how is your family? It's good.
Oh, we are great, man.
We are
awesome.
All the children, okay. Fantastic, terrific.
When things are not
bad.
Okay.
So withdrawal. Number two, some of them have abandoned families. Again, I don't want to come off like I'm condoning this, but it's reality. Some of them have run away. Because they cannot engage with a woman.
I know one who actually ran away from the home and started living in a hotel for 2 months. Hotels. Imagine spending that money but running away from the emotional
They
abuse.
do, and I want to mention it here, that sometimes when men run away, people again judge them and they say, oh, he's gone with other women. There are men who have run away from their homes, and they don't even want to see a woman.
Yes.
They are hoping they can breathe. So that also happens. Some of them have resorted to domestic violence,
yes,
because the only way they know to solve a problem is
physical.
to fight.
Yeah.
So they go physical, and because they have that physical energy more than the women, so they fight. They fight, and you know the dangers of domestic violence.
Of course.
Some of them have ended in jail. Others, I mean, domestic violence is just as ugly as it can be. But I also want to tell you that some of them are depressed. So they are depressed. They are completely deflated. So they have depression. Now, a depressed person can't lead a family in a healthy way. And when a man is depressed, they are likely to do so many other things. So there's what we call death of despair.
Death of
despair. What is this? It is behaviors that result from despair. So they are desperate. So they get into drugs. Some of them get into drugs, they get into alcohol. And we've seen men commit suicide.
Yeah,
when you look at statistics on mental health, men commit suicide more than women. They successfully commit suicide more than women. And some of them have endured long periods of stress and depression. And the more they get depressed, the more they seem useless. And so some women who may not be wise enough to understand, they'll go like, look at him.
You see?
You see?
You see?
I told
he
you.
has even stopped going to church. He's just seated.
Exactly. So some of them, now, I just have to mention once again that in extreme cases of depression, men have committed suicide because of emotional abuse. Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
So these are things that an emotionally abused man is likely to do.
Is likely to do.
Yes,
It's
he may
likely
withdraw,
to
get into an emotional cave, emotional hiding place. He may abandon his family.
Yes,
he may go physical and get engaged in domestic violence. He may end up being, depressed. And if things are not, if that journey is not stopped and interrupted by something, whether the hand of the Almighty or friends to come into his life and speak life and encouragement, the inspiration, this man may end up getting engaged in drugs and alcoholism, and who knows, when the worst gets the worst, can even take his life. That's reason enough to think about this issue. And when you look at this, what could be the impact of such things on a man's leadership over his family? Now, this man, tell me, what is the impact of his leadership over the family?
So it's obvious. It's obvious. So look at a depressed man. How much leadership can he do? Look at a withdrawn man who is hiding in bars. That's why we have so many absentee dads. Because after work, they would rather go to bars than home. And so the children can't see them. They are not great partners to their wives. Now, can I come off very clear that I'm not condoning that men hide, because we have some of them who are doing it as an excuse, and I'm sure we're going to talk about a healthy way to deal with emotional abuse. Because all these that I've mentioned are what we call destructive strategies. Negative strategies to manage emotional abuse. Because men are able to work this out. They are able to face it. They are able to manage. But if they go negative, then it impacts the family negatively.
Yes.
Some of them are absent. The absentee dads, absentee spouses, they are they are deflated men who can't make a decision in the family because they are depressed.
Yes.
They have no idea what's happening. If they abandon a family, that's where we have a number of men we call non-involved dads. They're just not involved in the lives of children. So all these that I've mentioned, they are negative coping mechanisms that men take on as a response to emotional abuse.
Yes. So at the end of the day, their own leadership, definitely.
It just, there's no leadership.
Yes, there's no leadership.
Gets affected.
Or if there is, it's bad leadership.
It's just bad.
You know, where one decides to now be
to fight
absent,
their way.
to be absent in the life of the child, instead of being available and talking with the children, becomes a non-involved father. Gets into a bad relationship with his own wife, and is indecisive. I think even some other people, some other men who are like this, I could say the impact of their leadership could be that they end up turning into dictators, authoritarian and totalitarian fathers and husbands in their own home. Nobody should speak anymore. Maybe because they are also running away from getting more speaking that discourages and demeans and belittles.
That's the thing,
So there the leadership over the family is destructive, is dangerous, is deadly.
It's deadly.
The family legacy is dying. The significance of this home is getting into the grave. But it all began with somebody not managing their mouth well. They have degrees in human resource management. They have a master's in financial management. They even have another one in conflict management. But they have failed to have a small certificate in mouth management. And as a result, the man in their life is emotionally abused. And he gets into all these kinds of things. And turns out to offer bad leadership over the family.
That's right.
Is there help for this man?
There is help for this man. Part of it is for them to learn. And I want to encourage men that 21st century relationships are about skills and knowledge.
Say that again.
21st century relationships are about skill and knowledge. Men have depended on power. Earlier relationships were based on power because you're powerful, you're the one providing for a family, so people have to respect you. But you see, all the things I've talked about, why men's respect is diminishing and therefore they feel deflated, is because they don't know how to manage relationships.
The how to.
So there is help for them. Number one, I want to encourage men to seek help, to seek therapy. Last time I did, I made a call and I said, please men, seek professional help. Because to be honest with you, Sam, men have no communication skill. They don't know that communication is a skill. And so they've been told, shout and claim your power. No, you have
Let me tell you this from experience, Evas. At Inspired Leaders International, where I'm the CEO, we give a number of short courses, and one of them is the Certificate in Public Speaking and Presentation Mastery. We just graduated the 29th intake about 2 weeks ago. Let me tell you this. I have watched the 29 intakes over the last 8 years. We always have more women than men on that program for public speaking and presentation. We always have about 70% women and 30% men. Sometimes we have 90% women and 10% men. You find that where it's a big number, you have like 40% of men. We have never had an intake where men were more than or even equal to the women. So that tells you exactly what you are talking about.
Now, for instance, let me just give a quick example. In what we call healthy, respectful conversations or communication, there are statements like when someone is belittling you, and so you'll say, I'm sorry, I'll listen to your feedback, but I won't tolerate this.
Okay.
You see? if I tell you that, it's going to get you thinking. So if someone is just passing all these remarks and belittling remarks, as a man, I need to have the skill to say, to stand up and say, no, you're not going to do that. But then what happens? They withdraw, and then they come back either violent or they get lost. So this is a skill that needs to be learned.
Okay.
And for instance, at ICFC, we run several programs to strengthen families. And I want to call on men, please take advantage of some of these sessions.
Yeah, sure.
It is life improvement.
Exactly.
It's called life improvement. And so you can't leave off default setting and then the old script of power, me as long as I'm the head of the family, I'll talk and people will hear. You're going, now the relationship dynamics have changed. If you're living with a woman who thinks, by the way, does this person deserve respect?
Yeah.
How are you going to manage that? Are you going to run away and look for another woman who may respect you? And
so there's help for
this help for this man.
Seek help.
Seek help. But then I also want to speak to men and say, please fit within your leadership position. Some men are not confident. Some men have freaked out. Some men cannot believe that they can live with a 21st century successful woman. Right? And I want to make this clear because some men have, they have gotten self-inflicted disrespect because they think because the woman is working, is progressing and all that, they are not respecting them. So it's just perceived.
Yes.
And so they keep running and then they do all these dumb things because they are trying to claim respect. I want to ask men to be comfortable and know that they are leaders in their families and have and earn that respect.
All right. Okay, so could that be your message to an emotionally abused man out there in half a minute as we come to the close of this program? What's your message to a man out there who has been watching and is being emotionally abused? In just half a minute.
Two things. One is that men have to know that emotional abuse is real. They have to understand what I mentioned, how it looks like. I talked about consistent pattern. So when it just drops, don't run. But number two is to for men to, honestly, my big message is for men to learn to identify sources of help. Right?
Yes.
And learn to speak up.
Okay.
Because they'll die in silence.
They say you die officer.
You die officer. Yeah, so they need to do that. But then also they need to work on strategies that can help them make good relationships. Because if they don't, then it's going to be a cycle.
All right.
It's just going to be a cycle.
Great, thank you. And what would be your final words to women out there in light of today's topic in half a minute?
In half a minute, I just want to tell women that both of us, respect is a human need. But for a man, respect is breath and life.
Yes. Yes.
And so in human relationships, in male-female relationships, I want to say to women that men crave your respect like breath.
Like oxygen.
Like oxygen.
All right.
So if for any reason you disrespect them, you are actually living with a deflated man who is as good as dead.
All right. Wow, we need to bring this to a close, and let me end it this way.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Atwiine, your husband, looking at the way he has been doing his best to lead his own family, would you say family leadership is simple or not?
For leadership, all leadership is hard. Family leadership.
All leadership is hard.
Family leadership is particularly very hard because you're responsible for people's destiny.
Yes, yes.
So
at close range.
At close range.
Daily.
Yeah. You're not like a government minister who
can close the office and go away.
But this is counted on you. So family leadership is absolutely hard, but very, very crucial. It is central to everything.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, what an awesome moment it has been talking about this important issue of emotional abuse, especially among men. It's been realized that physical abuse is most prevalent among women. And men, we need to stop that. We need to stop physically abusing our wives. But it's also been discovered that emotional abuse is more prevalent among women. I mean among men, sorry. So women, do your best. Stop emotionally abusing the men in your lives. But you as a man, I believe that today you have gotten nuggets of wisdom and insights to take you forward as you navigate and circumnavigate all these storms of emotional abuse, potentially in the home, in the workplace, in the community, in the society, and even in the faith centers. I will end with that statement that Evas said just a few minutes ago, that the 21st century relationships are about skills and knowledge. Go and get to know the skills you need in order to manage your emotional hygiene as a man. Go and seek the right knowledge that you need in order to understand the journey that your life is on. It's my prayer that you will seek help and find it whenever you need it. Samuel Bakutana, your host. Until next time, live exemplarily, love authentically, and lead relationally.